Hey everyone, welcome to Beyond Film School. Thanks for joining me on this lovely Sunday afternoon. Please let me know if you are here watching, where you're watching from. Let me know in the chat. So today we're going to be talking about taking film crew skills, all the things you've learned on a set, and trying to translate them into the regular jobs. Now, the reason why we're doing this, or why I am discussing this topic, is because the strikes. Obviously, the strikes have been going on for way too long. Now, the update with the strikes is that there should be some talks happening next week. They are scheduled. The AMPTP, the studios, are set to talk to the writers sometime next week. It could be Monday, it could be Tuesday. We don't really know what's happening. So the strikes are going on way longer than expected. Some people thought we'd definitely be back to work right now. Some now are saying that we're going to be back to work next year. I don't really like that estimate. I don't like the fact that people are saying next year. So this leads to the subject of that we're talking about today, is getting regular jobs. And regular jobs because obviously film jobs for me, working in film, is like a really fun job. I like what I do. It's really great. I love it. But also, when you compare it to like the 9 to 5 or working in the office, it beats it day in, day out. Any day I will take a position on set, a day on set, any day. So regular job, or corporate jobs. It could be like customer service, whatever. So we're trying to get those skills to translate as much as we can to regular jobs, because now what's happening is that people are getting those temporary jobs, because right now what's happening is that unemployment is running out. Unemployment only usually, I think most states give about 6 months of unemployment. Now, if you have been following the strikes, what's been happening is, even before the strikes were happening, May 2nd was the start of the writer's strike, and then July 13th was when SAG went on strike, the actors went on strike. Now, before that, the work was massively slowing down. So, as I've said in previous videos about the actor strike, about the writer's strike, in those videos I mentioned how the work has crazily and just has come to a standstill even before like drastically slowed down like molasses. Okay, so the work was definitely dwindling the closer we got to May, even before the strikes were happening, because people were anticipating the strikes happening and were preparing for a work stoppage. So that wasn't helping anybody, right? Because I remember conversations. Now, I'm sure you know that, like, if you've reached me on TikTok or Instagram or Facebook or whatever, like, I've gotten loads of questions where, hey, is it slow in New York? It's slow in Vancouver. Is it slow in Atlanta? I've had people from all over the US, some people in Canada, and even now in the UK, obviously that, the UK film industry has been affected as well. So everyone around the world is like, is it as slow as it is for me? And it is. And that was like in March. That was in April. So we're talking about people being out of work for a long time. Now, it's September 17th today, and people definitely haven't worked since like last October. We're coming up on a year where people have been unemployed. So they are stepping out of the film industry because they need to pay their bills. They need to pay their mortgage. They need to make a living. Obviously, they can't just wait around. And plus, their unemployment has run down. And I will say that unemployment for me, I have maybe 3 weeks left. So yes, I have Beyond Film School, but obviously, the ADing is my bread and butter. And if I'm not working on set, then it's kind of oh my God. So we're going to try and take those skills and translate them into getting the real jobs that maybe you don't really like, but knowing that the skills that you've gotten on a film set are super versatile and super useful in a lot of other jobs. And hopefully we can try and put it into that corporate speak, because what you put on a film resume, what you describe your job as, people are not going to understand what the hell a gaffer is. People don't know what that means in the regular world outside of film, right? So we're going to cover some of the film positions, the titles, and translating it into more real world, I guess I don't want to say layman's terms, but we're going to take that into, oh, sorry, I'm looking at the chat. I'm looking at Obi-Wan Martin. Thank you for being here. Evie, let me know if you're here. Evie, thank you for being here. Amanda, thank you for being a channel member and Beyond Film School alumni as well. So yes, I definitely miss working on set. Now, just before we jump into the topics that we're going to cover, is lately now I have more and more dreams of me being on set. And I posted this on my personal Facebook, and some people are like, oh my God, Amber, some people are feeling bad for me, but also I think that Usually when I have the film set dreams where I'm on set and I'm working a lot, I have them when I'm working too much, right? When I'm working like 60, 70, 80 hours on set and I haven't been able to do anything to break that up. And that's when I know I have to read a little bit more or do something that's away from set, right? But now I haven't been on set since I believe June. I had like a small gig in June, and then before that it was April. So very sporadic for me working on set. And the fact that I haven't worked so much, and I'm thinking about, okay, if I'm dreaming of working on set, I must really miss it. It's really affecting me. Like now I'm like, when are we going to get back to work? But also I kind of like the time off, but also like me being able to focus on other things, entrepreneurial things. Like I'm kind of grateful for this time, but also, the worry is starting to set in. Now I know people have been worried about this months and months before I have, obviously. I did the film challenge and that took up a lot of my time and energy and my brain space. But now that that's over, I'm like, okay, now I have other things to think about and I'm not as distracted. So some of the things we're going to cover today is turning those film position titles into corporate speak or regular world type of titles. Then we're going to talk about your resume, things that are going to change, because a film resume is not like a regular real world, regular job type resume, corporate or whatever, right? And then we're going to talk about some of your soft skills, because I'm telling you right now, soft skills are where it's at. And people will debate me on this, but soft skills are definitely where it's at, especially if you're trying to make a career change and you're trying to transition from being in film for years and years and years, and then you're like, oh crap, now I have to jump into another industry. So soft skills. Now, you might be asking, soft skills versus hard skills. Hard skills are like, if you're learning SEO or you're learning graphic design, those are like those hard skills where it is very tailored to a particular job. Soft skills are universal. You can take them from job to job, and soft skills are really what is a big selling point for when you're trying to change careers and you jump into a different industry, because they are universal, like leadership, communication, stuff like that. Those are things that you can use in every job. Now, as always, with my live streams, please ask questions, because I am here for you. I'm here to serve you. I'm here to answer your questions. And if I can answer any type of personal questions that are tailored to you, I'm happy to do that. So we're just going to jump into the film positions. Now, I kind of break this down, and some are like very, very focused. Some are just kind of like department focused, but I do have some. And if you are a certain position, and we're going to try and break it down, we're going to help each other. So we're going to help each other trying to figure out, like, if you have a certain film position, I don't cover all of them, but I cover a bunch of them. And we're going to try and break it down into like what else you would call it. Because, first AD, no one knows what that is outside of film. Like no one knows what that is. Okay. So we're definitely going to get into the film position names. Okay. So the first thing I'm going to cover is assistant directors. Now, assistant directors are people who are dealing with logistics, scheduling, and planning. So logistics, like event planning, is another thing you can get into, because you are planning. I think of it as like, if you're an AD, you are event planning every single day. So each day on set, to me, in my head, is like an event, right? So you are getting all the pieces you need, whether it's props, costumes, you're like taking all the pieces and you're making sure it's there on the day and it's ready, right? So logistics, scheduling, plan. Like first AD, scheduling manager, right? Second AD, that's like logistics manager, event planning. So those things are definitely tailored to ADs. And I mean, ADs, I believe a friend of mine, he got his resume like revamped from like a resume specialist, and they were calling him a consultant, which you really could. Like if you're really trying to plan anything, ask an AD to plan it for you, because I can plan a vacation like nobody's business. I can plan a birthday party, like I can really plan anything when it comes to any type of event. I can plan it. So planning, logistics, and scheduling, that is your bread and butter as an assistant director. Okay, so just moving on to PAs. Now, if you're a set PA, you are assisting, right? And especially if you're like a first team PA, the ones who are dealing with cast, and if you're dealing with background, like if you're a background PA, you are really good at crowd control. You are really good at public speaking. So you can put those in your description when you're doing your resume. Customer service is big. Anyone who works in the production department, AD, set PAs, producers, assistants, you guys are super good at customer service, because you're dealing with a lot of personalities, a lot of people, and you are trying to find certain answers, solving certain problems that are not going to make anyone mad or ruffle any feathers. So you're like fairly diplomatic. So assisting, any type of assisting job, customer service, hospitality, set PAs, you guys definitely have it. And a friend of mine who also is but Beyond Film School alum, she right now is working as a hotel manager. So that tells me like she definitely is like producer, UPM type, and she's also been a first team PA many, many times. So she's got hospitality on lock. Like she definitely has a customer service. She can deal with any type of person. So definitely if you are in this realm of like PA's production, customer service definitely is something that you can go into smoothly. So another one, UPM. So UPM is a unit production manager or production manager. You're an operations manager. You are project management, basically. You are a project manager. So you are taking like the big scope and you can figure out vendors, you know those relationships with people. So a UPM, you're operations manager. And also, I mean, you can really get into logistics and budgeting as well. So those are like a project manager, UPM, that is like so seamless, it's not even funny. So if you have project manager, UPM, like don't try to use your acronyms on your resume because people don't understand what those things mean. And as I said with AD, like AD or assistant director, don't call yourself that. So you call yourself a scheduling manager or logistics manager or event planning manager. Like, you know what I'm saying? So UPM, project management, perfect. I'm going to go to Amanda's question really quick. Or wait, maybe not a question, maybe just a thing. When I'm not on set at my office, I work in real estate. Agents are using video for reels, virtual tours, customer service skills, communication skills for communicating with agents, buyers, etc. So here's the thing: is anyone who is creating anything, and I think maybe camera or editors, if work is slow for you, definitely getting into creating social media reels and shorts and stuff like that is also definitely right up your alley, right? Like even for me, I guess if I really wanted to, I can go into social media marketing. I don't really want to do that though, to be honest. I only like doing that for my own stuff. But some people can really get into it, like advertising and stuff like that. So thanks for that, Amanda. Okay, so we're gonna move on to the next position, grip. So if you're a grip, maybe you're just starting out or whatever, you definitely are really good with anything construction or maintenance. Grips are really good at just figuring stuff out and how to make things work. So I think those things are definitely right up the grip department, like what they're doing, 100%. Construction and maintenance, like if you need to figure anything out, calling a grip is like what you do. So an office PA, I would say a receptionist is like the closest equivalent for an office PA because you're in the office, you have, I mean, again, a customer service comes into this one as well. Okay, so you're a receptionist, you're answering phones, you're greeting people in the office, you have that like happy, warm, smiling face, even if, you know, you don't want to be happy and smiley. So an office PA definitely is an equivalent to a receptionist, 100%. Now, locations, this one was really hard for me because locations, they do a lot of different stuff. They do a lot of different things, right? And I was like, oh, well, you think like locations, you would think like real estate, like you could. I think that might be a cool transition for you if you wanted to get into real estate or become a real estate agent. That might be something that could be for locations because it's like you would think that is something like, okay, locations dealing with like places of business and stuff like that would easily translate into being a real estate agent. It could, right? But also hospitality, customer service, and sales. Because I feel like with people who work in locations, you really have to be able to not schmooze or I guess negotiate or make sure you're smoothed over with the owner. Like you want to make sure they understand what's going on. You're very good at communication skills. You deal with difficult personalities, probably more so than the average crew member, I would say, because dealing with people who own the properties that we're shooting in is very hard. And I will stand by this. People who work in locations, it is the hardest job on set. People think it's ADs and Teamsters. I like to say that locations, that is the toughest department because you're dealing with the property owners or the people who are representing the property that we are shooting in. So negotiation, sales, hospitality, customer service, any type of those things, like I would say like, and it's kind of hard to put that into like a position, but people who are locations manager, you can definitely just put that and then you can definitely people are like, oh, manager. Manager's going to stick out. Assistant, locations manager. But these here, the hospitality, customer service, and sales negotiations, you can put those bullet points underneath the description, like 100%. And people are going to those are things that people are going to automatically understand. Okay, so if you're a walkie PA, I think right away you should be calling yourself an equipment manager. I'm sorry, you are doing inventory, you are making sure that everyone has that piece of equipment, just that walkie. You're making sure that people are taking care of it, you are switching out, problem solving, so you are definitely an equipment manager. Now that may seem kind of crazy, but it is, for me, that makes sense. You're an equipment manager, 100%. Okay, if you are a best boy or a best girl. Now, best boy, just to explain what a best boy and a best girl are, it's like best boy electric, best boy grip. It's usually the second in command. So your gaffer or your I would say like, your key grip. Yeah, key grip's so your gaffer and your key grip are the top of those two departments, right? So your best boy or best girl are like the second in command. You're a supervisor. You are doing a lot of admin work. You are doing a lot of hiring. You're doing a lot of the stuff that is like second in command type things. You're a supervisor. If anything, you can even call yourself a manager as well. So, you're handling a lot of stuff, and sometimes you're not on set as much, but you're doing a lot of like, you're handling the team, you're managing the team, you're hiring, you're firing sometimes. So, and you're also making sure people are getting paid. People are like, there's a lot of things that go into being a best boy or a best girl, and it's definitely supervisor for sure. I'm gonna go to the chat. Let's see. Evie, my husband is a props master, buyer, acquisitions. He makes a lot of stuff too. Is super handy. What would be some good titles? Okay, so props master. This was a difficult one, Evie. So props master. So I think with that one, and I had someone talk about this the other day about being props master, because it's like you're acquiring. I think acquisitions is a really good one. Acquisitions manager, because you always have to collect certain things to be used. And I think acquisitions definitely, maybe some people would not really understand a buyer. I think when you say a buyer, that might mean finance for some people. So maybe not so much a buyer, but inventory or acquisitions. Inventory. Also, like, I know with being a props manager, like, you have to deal with inventory, and you can't really say equipment, but it is, if you think about it, props is actually equipment. So I don't know if that helps as far as like prop master, but also you can definitely call yourself an acquisitions manager if you think about it, or creative acquisitions manager. I think would be a good one, because not only are you acquiring certain items to be used on set, but you are, kind of inventory those things and reusing them whenever possible, right? And I think creative inventory acquisitions, I think that's a really nice title. Like, people are like, what is that? And they'll ask you about it, right? So I think that's a good title. Props people are kind of salty, so not sure about schmooze. Yeah, exactly. No. Okay, so George, I was an overnight customer service manager a few years ago for a company. Best boy, best girl, best man. Okay, so if you are best boy, best girl, you're definitely 100% supervisor, and you have those leadership skills. Like, that's something I do want to touch upon when we get to more of the soft skills, is if you're in a leadership role, and there are so many different leadership roles that are on set that involve leadership, and they're in different hierarchy. So even PAs have leadership things, like, a key PA, definitely leadership position. First team runner, base camp PA, those are leadership positions. Even though you think you're at the bottom of the barrel, you're still utilizing those leadership skills. So if you are a department head, you are 100% a manager. You are dealing with inventory going in and out. You are hiring, firing, you are staffing certain positions. So you are a manager. So you're top of the chain, you are head of the department. And you could actually probably call yourself a department head, because I feel like maybe people will definitely understand what a department head is. They may not, but I think maybe, but you are a manager. You're a manager. You are running that whole department. You are a manager for that department. So if you're a department head, for sure, like gaffer, key grip, headset dresser, you are a manager, 100%. Like, don't be afraid to throw these supervisor or manager positions around, because you are definitely you have to use these words, because if you think about like a manager of a hotel, or a manager of any type of cafe, or a manager of a store, they're basically doing the same things. It's just like the items that they're controlling are a little bit different. I mean, also with people as well, like, you're managing people and you're managing a team. And that's the biggest thing about it. You're managing a team and a whole department. So key PA is a really good one, because there's a lot going on with key PA. And if you're a key PA, you're a supervisor, you're a hiring supervisor, you're a new employee trainer. There is so much happening with the key PA that you could be saying that you are. So if you are a key PA and you're like, what do I call myself, that people would understand? Like, you are maybe like a new hire supervisor, because you are hiring all these new additional PAs. So that's definitely something that you could put on your resume. Now, craft service, I think this is kind of a given. Food service, customer service, food preparation. You know, you can even get fancy with it. And maybe if you wanted to say like food display artist, some people do that because if they're really good at it, and they have like, you can actually take pictures of like how you set up your crafty. Some people are really good at displaying their crafty. Some aren't. Some are better than others. But I will say that there's a certain art that can go into craft service, but also there's like inventory, and you know, there's a lot of things that if you're like the key craft service person versus someone who's just working in crafty, you can add a little bit of those leadership elements into it. So another one, okay, camera was a really hard one. So if anyone works in camera, let me know and we can work this out together. Because maybe, now I definitely worked in camera and I've worked with a lot of different camera people. And this was a hard one because I feel like with sound and camera, those are very particular hard skill sets that aren't really translatable to like any job, right? So if you're in camera or in sound, you can work in the corporate world. You can, you know, work in like some people who have big YouTube channels who are hiring big staffs or whatever, and advertising, again, like those types of fields you can work in if you're a sound and camera, but they're harder because it's like if you're a boom operator, you're recording sound. It's a very particular job, right? So not all film positions are going to be translatable. And that is kind of also, if you are a boom operator, you could say a sound recordist or recording, like or sound recorder or whatever. You can probably say that to simplify. Whatever your position is, you have to make sure that you're simplifying so the outsiders understand. And that, I feel like we're talking about like a subset of humans that just don't understand our world, which actually, if you think about it, if they're not in the film world, they don't have any idea what happens in our world, right? So I feel kind of bad, but also like it's what it is. So if you're in camera and sound, it is a little bit harder. So first AC, I would say that you are a supervisor, right? Second AC is you're a data supervisor, file organization. If you are a person who is doing the IT, you're quality control manager. That makes sense to me. If you're a loader, you're a file management organization, equipment manager. You're, you know, also you can say like staff support, team support, stuff like that. So camera and sound is really hard. You have to kind of like dig a little deeper if you're in these departments, but because they're so particular, it's because what camera and sound, like camera especially, they're so into, you know, the camera settings and lenses and stuff like that, where it's, you can think about, you know, I guess you can probably take any type of equipment and figure it out, but also like camera is really hard to translate. It really, really is. Oh, George asked me about the script supervisor. I did not cover this one because I was like, oh, dip. Script supervisor is very, very, very particular, right? But I did think about this, and the script supervisor, you are, I would say organizational manager, file system like you, because here's the thing is that like while the second AC and the loader are kind of taking those camera notes and whatever, but they're getting their cues from the script supervisor, what the labeling is, right? So I feel like it might be organizational file system manager, might be a good script supervisor, but they do so much. Like continuity, how the hell do you translate that to the real, I'm like asking you guys, like you're going to help me, but like they're, I think, the ultimate person who is organizing how a movie or TV show is set up, right? They're organizing how this is going to go down. So I feel like that file organization manager, I feel like that might be one, or organizational manager, which does sound a little vague and a bit skewed, but it will get people to be like, oh, organization, file organization, which I feel like it really is dumbing down script supervisor. But like also when you get the bite of someone wanting to interview, they're going to tell you like, hey, can you explain this? Or they're going to ask you, explain this job, right? Okay, George, okay, thanks for, right? Okay, so we're getting here together. I got some validation. Perfect. Obi-Wan Martin, a lot of camera people I know moved back into local business, social media, production, weddings. Exactly. So camera folks, I think when I was in camera, my mom was always like, just do weddings, just do weddings. You can really put together some nice wedding videos when you're in camera or you're a camera operator and you're like running your own business side hustle with weddings and even like graduations or certain events and stuff like that. So that is a good, thanks for bringing that up, because that is very, very true. Documentary work, reporting, yes, broadcasting still happening, sports broadcasting still happening. So I know a lot of people who are camera operators, they can be a camera operator for sports broadcast. They can be news broadcasting. They can kind of like seamlessly kind of go back and forth with the right networking connections. So that is right. Thank you so much, Obi-Wan, for mentioning that, because that is definitely like, again, it's like broadcasting or news or sports, stuff like that. Anything that involves a camera, they can tap into. So I feel like maybe they have an edge more than maybe everyone else on a film set. I don't know. Okay, so I want to get into a little bit of how your film resume is gonna look more like corporate regular job resume. And I want to talk about dates. Now, if you've ever done any of my resume reviews or you have watched my resume videos, I talk a lot about dates, and I talk about them in the way of not having them on your resume. Well, in the regular world, that doesn't fly. It doesn't go down very nicely. A lot of people want to know how long you worked at a place, and if there are any gaps of employment, you need to explain. So what I will say about dates is you will not go gig by gig, meaning like, oh, I worked on this HBO show for 6 months and I was off for 2 months and I was working on this music video and then I did this short and then I did a feature, and there's like gaps in between those dates. So you want to make sure that you do not put each gig. So say, for example, me, I'm going to use myself as an example. I'm an assistant director. I've been assistant director in the DGA, and I wouldn't even mention the DGA. I'd put it like at the bottom where it's certifications or whatever. But if I were to create a resume trying to get into some other job, I would say I was logistics manager for, 5 years. Or let's say I got into, if I'm really being honest, I was assistant director starting in 2015 till now, right? And I take the whole span of how long I've been an AD. Not like, okay, well, I was an AD for this feature and then I was a second AD. I would just take all encompassing, like I was assistant director, and I give it that fancy name that we just talked about, for this many years. Because then I'm thinking about it like, how you are applying for unemployment and you use your payroll company, not like HBO, you are using entertainment partners, because a lot of people are paid through entertainment partners or Green Slate or whatever. Like you would use that as like the main company that you've worked for that many years, right? So I would just say like I was an assistant director for 7 years, like, I think it was May 2015 till present, or till like, I guess I would have to say till April, because I wasn't really that job anymore because I haven't worked for like 4 months. So you would not put like each gig, you would actually just put like from this time to this time to kind of not show those weird gaps of employment. I'm gonna go to the chat really quick. Let's see. One of my friends lost her job last November. She got back to weddings and by May already got 24 booked out of. That's amazing. And I will say there are some people who are cinematographers in their own right for weddings. They don't work in film. They are just for weddings. They're doing that like very, very fancy, like they're making some crazy nice shots for a wedding. And they sell these packages for like thousands of dollars. Like, I think this guy that I remember a couple years ago that were doing wedding cinematography, and that's how it's advertised. It's not called like a wedding video, it's wedding cinematography. And he was making like $15,000 packages, $30,000 packages. And then he would bring on like 2 or 3 other, I think he had like a staff of like 4 or 5 people, where like they were shooting literally everything, and they were putting together like the very cinematic like shots. And I'm talking like they were like using like dollies and all, they were bringing in the equipment. Okay, so they're really weddings. If you are marketing yourself the right way, you can really get some like top dollar for it. So what about those people who run teleprompters? What do you so the thing is, I think I remember talking to someone who ran a teleprompter and they hated it. I remember they were in that position. I can't remember who it was. I feel so bad. I feel bad. It definitely was someone who I think maybe did a one-on-one with me, and they were talking about being a teleprompter person, and they hated it. But it's more, a teleprompter, I believe, is more entry level. But what do you mean? Like, what about those? Like, share, like, elaborate for me a little bit, George. Daniel, Sarah, beginner learning film. This live helps. Oh, thank you so much, Daniel, for, Daniel, Sarah. I feel like I've seen your name before. Have you been in this live stream before? I don't know. Thank you for joining me though. Okay. So with dates, remember, let's not go gig by gig. Let's just put that position there. Put like maybe your entertainment partner or the payroll company you always worked for. Again, I'm not saying you're not lying because you were that position for that long, right? And it's not like you are, you're not making a fraudulent resume, but some people definitely fucking, they are making up some things on their resume to get that job. Do what you gotta do. That's all I'm going to say. So the other thing I'm going to talk about is description. Now, on a regular film resume, you're not really going to describe all the things you've done, especially if you have loads of experience. You're just going to put like your position, first AD, feature film, HBO. You know what I mean? Now, you're not going into like, oh, I made call sheets and I ran the set and I scheduled the shoot and all this stuff. You don't usually do that on a film resume. But for corporate regular resumes, you need about up to 3 bullets of descriptions. Now, in the descriptions, you need to talk about results. What have you done? Now, it's not like I scheduled shoots for blah, blah, blah. Now, remember, you have to stay away from words that outsiders do not understand. So you have to kind of, I want to say elaborate, but you need to dig deep into making sure that they understand what you're saying. And you have to paint a picture of the things that you were able to do in that position. Like results means what were you able to accomplish? So if you are a background costumer, you created or put together styles for 300 plus people in any given day. Now, if you want to take the span of the project, you can say for 1 month, I created this many styles for this, right? Or if you're thinking like budget wise, like I worked for a $5.5 million company to create this thing. Like they want to see numbers, they want to see budgets. Now, if you are working on those majors, now a major is something that's $15 million or more in the high tier of movies and television. You're working in majors, then that's like when you brag about those big number budgets, people love seeing that stuff. Hiring managers love seeing that stuff. Headhunters, recruiters, they love seeing like the results, like you worked for this big money. You were able to manage, certain budgets and stuff like that, or you worked for this thing that had a lot of money attached to it. Now, I do say brag here for a reason because these are the things you have to do. You have to brag like, what did you accomplish? What did you do? What kind of numbers were you dealing with, right? So if you are say, for example, a key PA, you managed a team of 50 PAs or something like that. Or maybe if you were a best boy or a best girl, you're like managed a team of 15. Or it could be managed equipment worth $50,000 to $100,000 if you're a camera person. Or like the walkie PA, like if they took the receipt from the walkies, the inventory, and they usually have them because you have to count how much you're going to get at the jump of the job, like at the start of the job. It'll say like each walkie is worth like $600. 100 walkies versus, $600. It's a lot of money. So you're managing equipment upwards of $100,000 or whatever it is. So numbers, amounts of money, budgets, results. What did you do? How many people did you manage? In your description, you want to add all these things because those are your bragging rights. People want to see what you are able to handle. Not so much your description of like what you did. It's about like what you accomplished. And I think sometimes with resumes, people get really caught up in like, oh, I have to describe what I do. Well, talk about your results to grab people in, and then when they want to interview you, then you can talk about like, oh, I did this, and then they can ask you those certain questions like, hey, tell me about how you did manage 15 people. Sometimes it doesn't really matter about like the nitty gritty about exactly what your job was. They want to know the things that you accomplished in that job. Okay, soft skills. We're going to get into soft skills, but soft skills, oh my goodness. Talk about your soft skills. And I mentioned this a little bit. Your soft skills are going to be the thing that is going to sell you. Like I said, when you are changing from a career into another career, you're changing careers, soft skills are going to be the thing that translate from each job to the other, right? Universal soft skills. Again, hard skills are going to be those like very particular to a certain job, and then soft skills are more universal where you can take from job to job. like communication, leadership, time management, all those things, your soft skills, you need to have a section on your resume. Now, you sometimes will not have this. If you have a lot of experience in the film industry, you're not going to usually have a soft skills section because you just want to lay out all your experience. And that's fine because that's the film resume. But when you talk about changing careers and going into that corporate resume or a regular resume, your soft skills are what needs to pop out. So make sure there's a section nice and organized, nice bullet points. You need to have these words like pop out from the screen because they want to see these things like pop out. You need to have those eye-catching things. Soft skills, definitely make sure you add those to your resume in some type of section. Some people put them at the top. Some people, I'm a real big fan of like resumes that are columned out, like 2 columns. And you have like one where it's, you have like, oh, your description of jobs or like your results, you talk about your job and what you accomplished there, and the other side is like, your information, you got some skills there on the side, and, maybe your education on that side too. So soft skills, make sure there's a section for that. Also, 1 page only. I need you guys to follow this regular resume advice. Now, a lot of people like to, I don't know, they fill the page and they're like, oh, I have so many jobs, I have so many things to say, and they go on to like 2-3 pages. No one is going to get past that 1 page. Even in the corporate world, no one hiring who needs to look through 100 resumes, no one is going to do anything past 1 page, guys. So make sure it is 1 page only. I say this in all my resume reviews, my videos, even on my website for the resume tips. Like, there's gonna have to be just 1 page. Trust me on this. Organize your resume in a way, get it down to 1 page. Okay, trim the fat, trim out the fluff, 1 page only. And that's just like basic resume stuff. Make it easy to read, quick to read, make it pretty. Okay, I know there's gonna be a lot more things on it and it might look a little bit more, gosh, stay away from the essay type when there's too many words on there. Be concise, make it easy to read. Remember, you want to put your personality on the page and you want them to absorb it as quickly as possible for them to decide whether they want to interview you or not, or have you join the team, okay? So easy to read, quick to read, and make it pretty. Now, I put this last, I probably should have put it first, but your position that we talked about in the beginning where we're talking about the new position name, make sure you put that first. Because you're not going to write, entertainment partners, using your payroll company. I was in this position here. You want to make sure you're putting your position first, foremost, bolded, highlighted, whatever it is. You want to make sure that is first. Remember, your resume is about you. And I preach this over and over and over again for a reason. It's not about the company you work for. It's about you and what you accomplished in certain positions. Okay, so after this, we're definitely going to get into some top soft skills all crew have. All film crew have this. If you've worked on a film set, you've acquired the skill. Before that, I'm just going to go to the chat really quick. Again, so if there are any questions, please let me know. Feel free to put them in there. Or if you have any advice or anything to add, we're all here. The community's working together to do all the things together. Because we're all in the same boat. We're all going to need jobs. So anyway, how we can just help each other out, it's going to be great. Okay. Yes, I've been on to a live before. Yes. Okay, good. I'm throwing 2 out there. I'm a little behind. I'm throwing 2 out there. Some of my own from my resume: logistics specialist, logistics assistant. Perfect, right? So if you're a PA and you're a logistics assistant, thank you, Amanda, for saying that. That is a logistics specialist. That's amazing. That's what people want to see. So thank you so much for adding that, Amanda. Like news shows, POTUS, etc. So you're saying like transitioning into news and being a teleprompter, or transitioning out? So sorry, George, I feel like I'm hooked on phonics here. I'm so sorry. Let's see. Yeah, one of the local guys I know charges $5,000 minimum for photos for just the ceremony. So he expands for before and after. They have drones. Yeah, it's crazy. Some of these wedding equipment, it's crazy what they're doing. Like, honestly. Okay, so George, for example, if you were doing a news story for a major news network, they have teleprompter built into the camera. So you are seeing what you say while looking straight into the camera. Yes, I know what a teleprompter is. Yes. I guess maybe, George, we have to go back to the beginning. What exactly is the question you're asking? I'm so sorry. God. So back to Amanda. I worked for Habitat for Humanity. I put handled housing applications and volunteer hour logs. Yes, I was a volunteer coordinator. Yes, but that was in 2009. So Amanda, I think people kind of know Habitat for Humanity, right? I think most people are aware of that, but that's true. And that's the thing with certain resumes is if something's well known to most everybody, then you don't really have to break it down Barney style. But unfortunately, if you are changing careers and you are looking to apply to outsiders, this is why we're doing this, like breaking it down into like some things that are like chunks, smaller, simpler chunks for people to digest when they're looking at your resume and stuff like that. So we're gonna go to soft skills. So the number one soft skill that everyone has in film, like you guys know what it is, communication. Communication is the lifeblood of a film set. If you don't know how to communicate, you will not last very long on a film set. So if you've had a long career on a film set, you will definitely have great communication skills, or you've at least gone through the trial and error of getting there to be a better communicator. So communication is one of those things. And some people do not have these skills, but people who work in film 100% have communication skills. Time management. Now, we all know everything in film is a we need it now situation, and or something has changed in the schedule and now we need it faster, or whatever the case may be. There's a lot of time management that is dealt with film. Like, it is 100% absolutely true. Everyone who works in film has some type of time management skills. Even like the key PA who's trying to book people for tomorrow or next week or whatever it is, or those props that are needed. Or maybe it's that loader that definitely knows they have to recharge those batteries by a certain time to make sure that the certain cameras are being used at a certain time are ready to go. Time management is, I think, not a lot of people think about this, but it's definitely always a part of our being. And we may not think about it that we have it, but we definitely do have it, because it's just like part of, we need everything right now all the time. So I think that is something not to forget about. Adaptability. Now, I love this one, and a lot of people, I think maybe they take this one for granted, or just don't realize it, just like time management, because adaptability is huge for our skills for people who are working in film. Because let's just look at it. Like, you go from the stage, which is your familiar in-house thing. Everyone loves the stage. It's familiar, but you're always going out on location. And sometimes some movies don't even have a stage. They're always on location. So every day or every couple of days, it's a new location. There's a new spot. There's a new base camp. There's something new that you have to discover and figure out, right? Or learn the layout. So this goes for every department. Adaptability is 100% going to be one of those top soft skills, because you are flexible, you are going with the flow, you are figuring it out on the day, you're being put into a new situation every single day. Also, adaptability on a time kind of like level, because you're not always going to be working 9 to 5. You're not always going to be having the same schedule. You could start at 5 a.m. one day, and then by the end of the week, you're starting at 5 p.m. So we adapt to the different schedule that we have throughout the week, and not only throughout the week, but throughout the month. Like, you could be on splits where you're starting at noon or 1 p.m. for a couple weeks, and then you switch over to overnights, or then you switch back to 7 a.m. So, and also adaptability to, like, maybe you have shorter days, maybe you have longer days, maybe you are going into 12, 14, maybe you're going back to 10. So we adapt so quickly that we don't even realize adaptability is one of our skills. So being adaptable / flexible is such a strength of people who are working in film. So teamwork. I hate seeing this on a resume, because I don't know why. People who are like, oh, good team player or whatever, but teamwork is a big one for everyone who works in film, because here's the thing, is that filmmaking is the ultimate team sport. And that is a quote from, I think, Michael Keaton, but it is true. Collaboration is the key to filmmaking. You can't make a movie that is, big budget, multi-million-dollar blockbuster without hundreds of people and without hundreds of disciplines. So filmmaking really is the ultimate team sport. I believe this. I believe that quote, Michael Keaton. I believe it. But teamwork is definitely something that is, a lot of people can't work with teams. But people who work in film, we've learned, whether hell or high water, trial and error, we've learned how to work in that team because we all love filmmaking. We all want to be there, especially if we've all had long careers in it. So teamwork is definitely something that is ingrained in people who are working in film. Whether we like the person or not, we know we have to work with whoever's on our team to make it work, right? So teamwork, absolutely. I feel like problem solving is a given. Now, any person who works in film, production, grip, electric, props, camera, everyone, or locations, everyone who is in any department in film has this skill. They all have it. Problem solving is like number one. Why? Because we don't have enough money, we don't have enough time. Okay, so we always are trying to figure out something to solve the problem of the moment all the time. Whether it's an actor got sick, what do? We have to rearrange schedule. Okay, so this car broke down, what do we do? How do we figure this out? We get like another van or whatever, another driver or whatever the case may be. There's so many things that go wrong on a film set that problem solving is ingrained, right? And also, if we want to do something, a certain shot or a certain angle or a certain stunt, and we may not have that special gizmo that's, new and upcoming and out and trendy, we figure out how to make it happen with what we have, right? Especially my indie filmmakers out there, and also for people who are big budget that maybe that special equipment just didn't come in that day. Maybe something happened with like the truck, the swing truck that broke down, didn't get there on set on time, right? So we are figuring out how to make certain things happen creatively like so many different ways. And we really have that extra thing that we're like, oh, we're able to figure it out. No problem. Like we will sit there and we'll think about this problem and we're like, okay, I've got it. Let's try this. And it's all about trying to make it happen because we're trying to achieve a certain vision. We're all pushing toward the same goal of like making this thing happen, right? So problem solving is something that I feel like ingrained, especially with ADs or in like any really department anyway, like props, people, costumes, like we figure out how to make it work. And I do love this comment I got from Lightbulb Rentals, and if you need some equipment for whatever your indie needs are, please check out Lightbulb. I love them. I work with them. They sponsored the film challenge for me, but they added this. They're like film. They definitely support this whole problem solving. Like we are people who are able to just figure anything out, whatever it is, we can figure it out, and I love that about us. So crisis management. Now this goes into the problem solving, but there are so many things that go wrong. And it's like we're able to problem solve quickly. We're able to adapt quickly. We're able to kind of switch gears very quickly. And whether it's, I don't want to say like crisis management as like someone getting injured or something like that. Yes, that is something that we deal with. But when everything just goes wrong and everything is chaotic, we're able to just kind of like push forward and progress. So crisis management is also a soft skill that we are able to deal with. Like, what do you do when, the actor just says, okay, I'm going home now. And like, you just like, what? Everyone has to kind of just go and just push forward with what is ever happening. Like responding to the situation, figuring out how to get what we need to get. So leadership, of course, if you are in those positions where you are hiring people, you're managing a team, you are training anybody, I think a lot of leadership is ingrained in all the departments, in all of filmmaking. It's very rare that there's someone that's not dealing with leadership and somehow. So leadership is something that even when you've been a green PA first day on set and you're like, okay, I've been a green PA for a couple of weeks, and like a month later, you're no longer the green PA, and now there's another green PA, and now you're like helping them and you're training them. You're training like, hey, I learned this last week, and this is how you can lock up the street better, and then you're like helping other people. So, and even when you're like that grip that's just starting out and then you learn a little bit, it's like just after a few weeks, you can actually start helping others and you are now that leader. So it happens at all levels. Like it's very rare for like, you're at the bottom of the barrel for a long time. That doesn't really happen that way. So I think it's all about like, as you grow, you definitely have acquired some type of leadership skills. Okay, let's see. Now, customer service, we are working with so many people on a set. Like I said, teamwork, it takes a lot of disciplines, a lot of people to make film happen, to make an episode of TV happen. Now, customer service, dealing with all the personalities, that is exactly what happens on a film set. You are trying to convey your idea, you're trying to articulate, you're trying to achieve whatever you need to achieve, but also you are progressing without making people upset. You're trying to understand, there are some people who are like mediating and trying to make sure that people are understanding what is needing to be done versus what was said, and there's like interpreting. So there's a lot of customer service involved in filmmaking. You are dealing with a ton of personalities. It's not like this like type of position where you are like sitting there remote working and you're just on a computer, where you're dealing with maybe like 5 or 6 people in an office every single day, the same types of people. And this goes back to adaptability, where when you are on a film set, you are working with a ton of different people and new people day by day, because you have day players, you have additional people that are coming in for the first time that you've never met before. So there are a ton of people that you're dealing with, new people, old people. I guess old people in the way like you've been working with them for a couple months, but customer service goes super long way. And a lot of people take this for granted as well. If you are dealing with multiple personalities on any given day, multiple personalities sounds different. So that sounds kind of funny actually. But if you're dealing with multiple different types of people any given day, you know you have customer service, especially if you're able to kind of get the best out of people. Like, you know how to handle someone who's disgruntled, or someone who's cranky, or, maybe someone who's got too much energy. Maybe, you know how to deal with people's, the ins and outs of people and how to get the best out of them. Customer service, you definitely have it. I think I have one more training. So like I said, with leadership, you're training people, and it happens at all levels, whether it's, that key PA, train that new additional day player PA, whether it's the second AD training the second AD, or whether it is, that like props master, training that very new person that was a PA and just got into props. They are training that new person. Training is a huge thing that, we've shown so many people the ropes that you definitely are someone who is well-versed in training new employees. So I'm going to go to the chat really quick. Please let me know if you have any questions about all this stuff. There's a lot of information. It's very dense. There's a lot of information here. Okay, so where I work, okay, so I'm going to Danielle. What is the best way to connect with filmmakers, creators in your area? Danielle, I don't know what area you are. What area are you from? Let me know what area you're from. But I say the best way to connect with filmmakers, creators in your area is Facebook groups. Facebook groups, 100%. Get on the Facebook group, search, your city film production. Something's going to come up. A lot of stuff's going to come up. Like, definitely a lot of stuff's going to come up. Facebook groups, definitely. Also, like, Reddit sometimes is, like, Reddit in filmmaking is a thing for people who are in film. I mean, if you want to get eaten alive, but so yes, Facebook group, Oklahoma City, definitely they are going to have a lot of film groups for sure. Also, like, tap into your social media, because people have different Instagram accounts where they're, they have certain like groups, film communities and stuff like that. Drinking my tea, y'all. It's still warm. Oh, I made it like an hour ago. It's still good. Okay. So, yeah. Stage 32 is also a way. There's a lot of online groups that you can definitely tap into. Stage 32. Facebook groups, but also definitely look on eventbrite.com. I feel like that's an ad, but it's not. But you can look up networking events, because right now, the great thing that's happening right now, and it's really hard to find the silver lining in this situation, but the silver lining is that we're not in a pandemic. There is a work stoppage right now. There are strikes going on. There's not a lot of production happening. But what is happening is that people are doing the things that they might have wished they've been doing for all this time they work in film, going to networking events and doing workshops and going to those training seminars and stuff like that, where they're actually going to meet in person and networking and stuff like that, or they're getting together and they're doing those small projects because they have some time off, So definitely look on Eventbrite and type in your city and just do like film production or film networking, and I guarantee there's going to be something that you could like go to. Also, I know this doesn't really help Oklahoma City, but I know Lightbulb Rentals, they have an event coming up, I believe this Wednesday, right? So September 20th, they have an event coming up. So I encourage you to go to Lightbulb Rentals on Instagram. They always have a networking event happening, either in Philly or New York. And I believe they're starting to do the networking events in Pittsburgh as well. There are tons of things that you could tap into. Just like Google film networking event near me, and something might pop up. I know there is a certain, oh gosh, I can't remember the name, but there's a certain Philly networking event that happens all the time. And they are like hosting like these monthly, like they check out short films, and you can, look at the short and give critiques and stuff like that. And also We Make Movies is another group online that I like. You can, write a script and you can read it, and you have actors read it and stuff like that. That's another way of networking, getting to know people in your community. So there's usually lots of things that are happening around you locally. It just takes take an hour every day, or even 1 hour every week, and just like Google's film networking things. If you are aspiring screenwriter or whatever, just look into those things, and you never know, right? So there's a ton of stuff that's going to come up. Okay. I was asking about those people who are in charge of feeding information to teleprompters for people when speaking to either the people who are in charge of feeding information into the teleprompters. I believe how teleprompters work, and please correct me if I'm wrong. Now, this might be outdated information, but it is like the script is written either by the producers, most likely producers, and then the anchor is kind of like, most likely the producers. They write it, and it's like put into the computer, and that's it. And then it goes at a certain speed. That's all I know. George, I don't know if that answered your question, but those people who are in charge are usually the producers, or the segment producers, usually in broadcasting. So Daniel, I hope that helped. I think that you just got to do some searching, like Google searching on Eventbrite and just filmmaking networking events, and certain stuff is going to come up now because more and more people are meeting in person now that we have the time and we're not in lockdown and we can actually meet in person. It's quite nice. Also, there is something to be said for workshops, seminars that are done online, Zoom and stuff like that. Definitely tap into those types of things, because that is a way of meeting people. Not ideal. It's not something I like to do all the time, is like go on Zoom. I'd rather do it in person if I have like the energy, I guess, for a social situation, because I'm a little bit more introverted, a little bit more like, I don't really like meeting new people. It's very, very hard for me. But, if you are more like me, then yeah, maybe you can do the Zoom thing. But definitely like, don't be afraid to just sign yourself up for certain free events, or sometimes these events are like $10, $15. It's not even that bad. Okay, sorry. Okay, so Chad, I haven't heard from him in a long time. No, I'm thinking of Chad Rogers. Sorry, Chad Stone. Sorry I came in late, and I'm watching your film position section. Locations could translate into beer, wine company rep, especially with the context of restaurant. Yeah, that is actually that's really good that you mentioned that, Chad. That's actually very, very great that you say that, because a lot of restaurants, a lot of churches as well, too. So they could probably be like a community event planner as well, because they have a lot of venues that they have in their arsenal that they could just tap into. So that's very, very good that you say that. So Amanda, if you have any certifications, use those to your advantage. Social media management, Microsoft Office databases like Salesforce, being bilingual, Triangle definitely helps. Of course, those are definitely those hard skills, right? So hard skills definitely do translate to some things. Knowing how to use Excel, all that stuff. Knowing SEO does translate to a lot of different things. I know I called that a hard skill and it's very focused, but SEO can be a lot of different jobs. So, yes, that is all I have for today. So we talked about the film positions, trying to make them sound into something more outsider world, corporate. Remember, like, take the bulk of your job and think about like how to break that down to a person that doesn't understand what props master means or camera loader. A lot of people are not going to know what that means. So like, it's all about breaking it down. Like, what are you doing? Taking the main responsibility of that job and then kind of like putting it into the title, and just really, and I do mean this, like, change the title. So instead of putting, camera operator, maybe we're not going to go camera and sound are very like, they can do other things like weddings and all that stuff, but they like the positions, taking it, breaking it down into simple terms and using that title instead of assistant director. I would use logistics specialist, like Amanda was saying. So making sure you're taking that film position, you're changing the name because you're not lying. You're just trying to make sure they understand what your position is. And because you've done those tasks and you've done that responsibility. And we talked about film, resume, making it look more corporate. Now, remember that now your resume in the corporate world is going to be kind of ingest into a system, whether you're putting it online and stuff. And like some AI program is going to read it and they're going to take these like results driven things and names and all these like really good adjectives. Remember that like results, what you've accomplished, how many people have you managed, numbers. It's a numbers game, and brag about your accomplishment. Brag about it. Make sure it stays one page, guys. I cannot stress this enough. Please, whatever it is, I don't care what you have to do to break your resume and make sure it gets onto one page. And okay, when I say one page, some people think that you're gonna make instead of an 8x11, like a letter size format, they're like, oh, I'm gonna make it 8x14. No, there's no cheating here. And then sometimes you need to play with your margins, making sure up and expanding left to right and like top and the bottom. Those can be messed with, but not to the edge of the page, okay? And making sure that the font is big enough to read. Don't go past 9-point font. I think even 10 might be a safe bet, because some people like to make the font smaller and smaller and smaller. Don't make it difficult for the person who's reading your resume. Okay, don't make it difficult for them. Just keep all that in mind. Definitely like watch the replay if you need any of this to review. Also, what I will say is, use your soft skills. Just expand on your soft skills, because a lot of people don't think about putting soft skills on their resume, and it's really a good selling point. And I tell everyone who is coming into Beyond Film School and they want to be a Set PA and they're starting over, and Diane, she is a Beyond Film School alumni, and she took I think May of this year, my May class, and she's already an AD on set. It's crazy. But she has reinvented herself 3 different times. She was a lawyer, and then she was like, no, that's not for me. I don't like to be in the office. And she was a flight attendant, which while she's being a flight attendant, she's also tapping into film. So she's like on her 3rd career now. So, and one thing I told her is like soft skills. Like taking your resume and make sure you have soft skills on there, because it's going to translate. And a lot of people don't put soft skills, they don't put the effort in, but really dig deep. And like I said, with all these soft skills, it is not limited to this. Like you may have acquired like other soft skills, and there's probably like 10 more that I can think of, There's probably a lot more that you can think of that pertain to you personally. Okay, I have a few things. Let's see. Amanda, why are you deleting your messages? What's happening? Let's see. Yes, it helps. Epic live stream as usual. Thank you, Obi-Wan. Thank you so much. I don't know what my next live stream is going to be. I have no idea. I have to think about my topic, but I'm really glad that I thought about this topic, and I think it came up more and more in just what's trending right now for people in film. And if anyone is new to film, if you are new to film, let me know in the chat. Like if you are new to film, like if you're like, I want to get into film, like let me know. So first of all, we can like make sure that like we're celebrating you getting into film, because what I will say for new people getting into film for the first time is that now that this has happened, there are so many people who are getting out of film and they're leaving it for good. So there's just gonna be way more room for the new folks. And that's fine. And there's nothing wrong with people. Like people have had their share, because here's the thing is I think that working in film can definitely be, it can be draining. It can be rewarding. There's a positive side, but then also people are like, you know what? I want something different. I don't want to work in film anymore. I want to work in something like a little bit more low key, not as chaotic, because sometimes that does happen. Where you're like, you know what, I'm not really in for the chaos. And a friend of mine, she is doing an office job right now. And she's like, I sort of miss the chaos. I sort of miss like some crisis happening and us having to fix it. Whereas like some jobs are not like that. And a lot of people are leaving film because they don't want that crisis. They don't want the time crunch. They don't want like we need it right now and like the chaos of film. There are a lot of people leaving. So there's going to be more room once the strikes end. And there are some people on my channel who have been commenting. I don't want to say some people. There's one person in particular. Let me just stop right there. So there are some people who are thinking that like film is dead. Film is not going to recover from this. Now, what I will say for the strikes is that this is a battle that needed to happen. It really needed to happen because ultimately what this fight is about is the worker versus big corporate entities, right? This is what it's about. It's not just about making sure people get paid more. It's kind of about capitalism and corporate greed, if you think about it. It's way bigger than people are thinking. And a lot of people are like, well, film will be dead because of AI. What I will say about AI, and we can tap into the AI, like the AI subject if you want. What about AI is that AI right now is growing, but it is still in its infancy and it still needs humans to tailor it, needs to question it, needs to go back and forth. There's so much that is happening in AI, and I've listened to a lot of podcasts. I've done like probably more research than I really needed to do about AI. And what I've learned about AI is that people are really thinking it's about to be Terminator or something like next year. Like the machines are they're gonna take over right away. It's gonna take some time. Okay, and it's still in its infancy, and it's going to take, a couple years. And also something that passed in Congress, I believe, that you can't copyright AI material, something that's a whole other thing that I think is up for debate. And there's a lot of things that are being said about film and Hollywood, and people are just waiting for the demise of Hollywood, and AI being like the thing that's going to take over everything. Now, with AI, it kind of will help us progress, right? There's like talks about AI helping to cure cancer because it's all about this numbers and figuring out how fast we can figure things out. And when AI, they can, with the right input, they can calculate faster, and like computers and stuff like that. Like, remember like back in like the 1950s when computers became like bigger and people were like, oh my God, computers are going to take over. Well, it's a big part of our lives, but they haven't taken over yet. So there's a lot of things happening in the AI section and what's happening in film right now. And I think people are freaking out. People are really freaking out. And I don't need everyone to freak out. Everyone just stay calm. Everyone just got to stay calm about this. People love movies. And there's so many people who are like, oh, fuck Hollywood, I'm just going to watch YouTube. And I'm like, thank you for watching YouTube, by the way, because you're watching me right now for being on YouTube. So thank you for that. But also, I love me a movie. And I know you love a movie. Some people still love TV. People love stories. And the one thing I know about humans is that we love good stories. And we love to also be good storytellers. So as long as we're here, and as long as stories are being told, and as long as we have emotions, film and TV is going to be there. And it's kind of like when you think about when TV came out, everyone's like, oh my God, radio's dead. Radio's still there. TV's still here. And like, if you think about even going back further when like it was just newspapers and then radio came out, it's all about like, okay, well, if this new thing is here, then that means that the previous thing is dead. That's not true. I think the only thing that's really dead right now is telegraph, I think might be. There are some inventions that have, I guess, morphed into better updated things. But I don't think TV and film is dead. And there are some people on my channel who are like commenting on my videos like, oh, get out of film right now. You won't survive and you need to go into finance. No, I won't do it. I will not. Okay, so have you been okay, so George's asking, Amber, what have you been doing since the strike started? Okay, so since the strike started, I can't really say what I've been doing because sometimes I will plead the fifth on certain things that I have been doing as far as like work because I'm a DJ AD, so I won't talk about certain things. No. I have been focusing on film school, Beyond Film School. So I always try and create opportunities for my alumni, my Beyond Film School alumni. I ran the film challenge. That took a good two and a half months to put together. Trying to make sure content is going out and focusing more on my channel. Also, I've been going on a lot of vacations, guys. I'm not going to lie. I went to Atlanta just recently. I went to Savannah, hit up Virginia Beach. It was like a 1-week trip where we were like road tripping. Went to a Braves game down in Atlanta. First of all, like, Braves, if everyone's a baseball fan, please shout it out because I love some baseball. So yeah, vacations, catching up with Beyond Film School, catching up with my family, see my family more. So yeah, like for me, now that unemployment is about to dry up for me, now I'm like, what am I going to do? Now, before I was a full-time assistant director, I was a barista, and I did that for years because like it was the most flexible thing that I was able to do. But then on top of that, I was a tour director. So I would do the student tours where they would go up to Boston, New York, DC, and I loved doing those. So I was doing that for a hot minute. I'm a real big fan of having jobs where it's like I'm not doing them day in and day out. I don't like 9-to-5 jobs. I like very sporadic variety to my week and to my day. So I'm thinking about probably going back into travel probably because that's what I like doing. And yeah, making videos, travel, that's what I like to do. So George, I don't know if that answered your question, but that's definitely what I've been doing since the strikes have happened. But also like beyond film school, trying to tap into more like travel stuff, and maybe I can get back into student tour directing. Let's see. Chad, I'm sure the video will be still up once. Yes, so this video will definitely be up for replay, so don't you worry, everybody. It's going to be up, and I'll probably will edit it down to make sure that you have the info bits and not just, having it with the chat. So I'll have it as like an exclusive video just about how to kind of navigate through this video, not having to like worry about the chat stuff. Okay, so I would not be surprised if people are rethinking the entertainment industry because of the way these latest strikes are going. So what I think about that, George, is that the latest strikes and all that stuff, I think with these ones, it's going to be pivotal for whatever deal comes out will be like the building blocks further and going down further in the future for all the other unions. Because here's the thing: is Teamsters are up next year, and so is IATSE. Everyone's like, there are people who are like, there's no way they're going to strike because we just want to get back to work, right? But from what I understand, they might have like some deal points that are, the AMPTP are like, no. So we don't know. So next year we're going to see. But also, this is a good exercise for making sure that people who work in the industry have something as a backup. Also, live beneath your means. I was like, because when you were working on set and the money is flowing, and I'm getting like $700, $800, $900 a day, and for first ADs who are a big budget, they're like $1,200, $1,400, $1,500 a day. Money is flowing, it's great, but like living beneath your means is very, very important to make sure that you're surviving these months that we don't have work. So it really puts it in perspective of like, do you need a $600 car payment? Do you need a giant house that, like, you know what I mean? Like, downsizing and making sure you're living beneath your means this is a good lesson. I will always keep this in mind. And thinking about like buying a house in the future, I told my partner, I was like, we have to make sure whatever house we decide to get, one of us can sustain on our own. Like, like if we're both working, great. But I want to make sure whatever bills we have, one of us, if anything happens to one of us, also like if we are unemployed or something, we want to make sure that one of us can sustain all the bills. Okay, reading more. I'm sort of new getting into film. Spent 13 years getting my degree, so I have a master's down the line. But my little to no on-set experience, but it's been my life for years. Yo, there's going to be a spot for you, Obi-Wan. Going to be a spot. Amanda, people in different fields like engineering are using AI, although in education they are very rare. Yeah, so the thing is with AI in education is that it's hard to, right now, determine if it's a fact, right? And it's like them trying to decipher tonal type things and whether something is true or false is something that's happening with AI now. So that's why AI is not as dependable as people think, because they can't decipher if something is true or not. So, George, honestly, if someone were to suggest to me about getting into the business, I would decline for the simple reason that I need a steady paycheck. And that is something that a lot of people consider as well. George, getting into film is unstable. And I like that because it gives variety to my life. And some people do not like that. I just have never worried, only because I'm always like, it's going to happen. It's going to figure out. Things are going to go my way. Somehow I've been able to pay my bills every month. I don't know how, but I have. But that is true, where it's like some people need that steady paycheck for sure. And people definitely do not get into film because of it. So, Amanda, you know what I noticed, Amber? Some podcasts are now on IMDb like The Edge of Sleep. I've seen people make episodic podcasts and get credited. Maybe that. This is true. Podcasting is like coming up, guys. But also, starting a podcast is challenging. And people are like, Amber, start a podcast. No, thank you. I will leave that to the experts who do podcasts. That is something that is for them. But there is everyone and their mother is starting a podcast. You know what I mean? And plus also celebrities are starting podcasts. So that also, I don't want to say it's drowning out, but if you already have celebrity attached to you and people know you, then you know that your podcast is going to be successful. So podcasting is something I don't want to get into, but Amanda, you're definitely right. So I think I'm going to wrap it up. If you guys have any questions, please let me know. What I have coming out this week, is we are going to have a interview with Sarah Himes. Now, the full interview is up now, and it is available for channel members. She talks about, well, first of all, let me tell you who she is. So she's an assistant production manager. Oh my God. Assistant production coordinator, assistant production coordinator, and she works in the office, and she talks about that position. She also talks about production secretary. I worked with Sarah when I was in Atlanta working on Jerry and Marge. I got to meet her, and she let me interview her. So I have that interview where we talk about being an assistant production coordinator, and then the following week we're going to have the production secretary we're going to talk about. So the full interview for Sarah is available now to channel members. So if you want to tap into Sarah, because she talks about negotiating, how the benefits of working in the office has helped her. And if you're trying to be like a producer, the benefits of like being in the office, you can really get a good insight to all the positions when you're working in the office. Some people are like, don't even know what the production office is, guys. This is why I have a series about being a production office, about being in the production office, because people don't even know what it is. And for a long time, I didn't even know what a production office was, because like the physical space didn't exist, but the positions did for like some of my indie projects and stuff like that. So production coordinator, assistant production coordinator, those videos are up. And the assistant production coordinator, we're going deep with Sarah. That'll be up Wednesday. It'll be up for channel members probably tomorrow. So Amanda, you'll have the jump on knowing about assistant production coordinator, but you probably already watched the interview already, probably. So also I have my online Set PA course. If you are trying to learn right now about how to be on set, film work is going to come back, guys. Film work is going to come back. So I have my online course. It is on demand for you to do at your own pace. And if you are trying to get into film, it is going to come back. And when it comes back, the floodgates will open. So be ready, because we are going to need PAs. People are going to be ready to get like their projects greenlit. The production is going to open up. Like, it's going to be crazy. Okay. So just know to be ready. I have an online Set PA course on my website, beyondfilmschool.com. I also have my Atlanta class happening in December. My Set PA class in December is happening in Atlanta, and my New York class happening in February. So Set PA courses are still happening. And also visit my website if you want any film career resources and all that stuff. If you have any ideas for things that you want me to explore, you want certain people for me to interview, please let me know. I'm all open for ideas, for sure, because I'm here for you guys who watch my channel, my subscribers. Thank you. First of all, if you are a subscriber, thank you for subscribing. If you are a channel member, thank you for being a channel member. So we got a few more from your mouth to God's ears. Exactly. Go seriously. The production office, or as they called it in the complaints department, or the last production I worked on was Crazy Some Days. Yeah. Okay. Well, I will say that the complaint department is the ADs. The assistant directors are the complaint department. That's what at least we called ourselves on this one. I think we did call it the complaint department when I worked in Atlanta on Jerry and Marge Go Large. Like we labeled our walkies the complaint department. But the thing is that once they complained to us, we did actually complain to the production office eventually. So they can also be tagged as the complaint department for sure. So thank you so much for joining me, guys. If you have any ideas, if you need any resources, please let me know. If, again, my Set PA courses are out there. And my next live stream, who knows? It'll be on a Sunday at 1 p.m., probably in 2 weeks. And then assistant production coordinator video will be up on Wednesday. So thank you guys so much for watching. I shall see you guys next time.